How's the real estate market affecting your
Real
investment?
estate is not a commodity.
Don't join the crazy parade.
Welcome to Market Talk with your host, Brian Roth, discussing today's real estate news, tips, and trends. Hey, thanks for joining me for another episode of Market Talk Weekly. I just want to share this with you before I really get into this episode. You know, when I'm preparing for my next episode, it's often going through things that I've experienced in the past, and whether it's something prospecting or if it's something that's been a challenge for me, especially when it's an emotional challenge or it's been stressful for me, when I'm sharing things like that, it's coming from a place where I've already experienced. I get it. I know what's going on. Not that I'm like got it 100% under control, especially with the emotional and stressful part of the industry. And, you know, when we get stuck, you know what I mean? When you're as a real estate agent, sometimes we just get stuck. Oftentimes I just go back to the drawing board. I've got like these 3 books that I'll pull out and I'll just go through those books and I'll start trying to, get myself going again in the right direction. So what I share in the podcast comes from my own experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today, I want to talk about farming. And, if you're a new real estate agent, I'm sure when you think of farming, it doesn't conjure up visions of real estate. But the idea of farming and how it's done, that's what we utilize. And farming is a prospecting technique that's tried and true and tested. It's been around for a long time. Well, I'm not a farmer, but I do like to have a little vegetable garden from year to year. And so I'll go out and I'll, prepare the soil and put the seeds in the ground, water, take care of it, and watch it grow. And I enjoy that. Years ago, I was with a group of people, and we were going to do a community garden. And as we were getting ready to start, one of the folks in our group's like, "Oh, we should test the soil and send away a soil sample." Well, let me tell you, patience hasn't always been one of my strong suits, but I'm glad I listened and had patience in that situation, because the soil sample came back that it had high concentrates of lead, and that was because of its proximity to a close by highway. We had to find another location for our community garden. That experience with the community garden taught me that there are processes in place for a reason, and we should never cut corners. So we're going to apply the principles of farming to real estate farming. The definition of real estate farming is systematically targeting a neighborhood with a consistent message, so when people are ready to sell, they think of you. There's a really good book out called Success with Listings, and it's written by Noli Williams. Now, I don't know how I came across the book, but I'm glad I did. If you're new to real estate, you should really look into this book. Again, it's Noli, that's Knolly, Williams, and it's Success with Listings. And by the way, I don't get any kickback on that. It's just a really good book. But in his book, he talks about real estate farming, and he describes it like this. Imagine that you were running for mayor of a city. What would it look like? What kind of marketing campaign would you employ to get your votes? He says farming looks the same way, only you're running a smaller campaign for a smaller area. When we do real estate farming, we usually go in between maybe 300 to 500. You could go higher, but you remember you're focusing your efforts in one area, and so you want it to be a manageable area. Thinking about how Noli Williams explains farming, it's a really good visualization, because think about it. When there's an election in your area, what happens? Signs pop up everywhere, don't they? You start to hear it over the radio, you see social media posts. I mean, you become inundated with the local officials who are running for government, and you may even go to a festival or carnival or some kind of event, and they're there. Like, they just flood the area with themselves and their message. So we're going to take these concepts, and especially that of farming, and we're going to apply it to real estate. So you're going to start by preparing your soil. You want to make sure that the area that you're going to farm, one, is not dominated by somebody else. Doesn't mean that you couldn't farm that area. I mean, you may be well known in that area, grew up in that area, know a lot of people, and that may be the best area for you. But you need to know what you're coming up against. You want to make sure that the area's price point for average homes is going to meet your financial goals, and also that there is some turnover rate in the area. You don't want to go a dead area that nothing's happening. And when it does, the sales prices are so low, it's not going to be profitable for you. Next, you should develop a plan and a budget. So what are you going to plan? How much? If you're just starting out, you may not have the budget to do a whole lot. So you want to focus on smaller neighborhoods, say, 2 to 3, maybe 400 homes. Also, keep in mind when it comes to an area, you really should stay close to home or your office, because if you're farming an area 30, 40 minutes from your house or office, it's going to make it much more difficult to farm. And once you've done the prep work and you've planned out what you're going to be doing, including like a weekly schedule, you're ready to start planting seeds and watering your farm. Now, really, this could be a lot of fun. You can be really creative and make it what you want it to be. You should be attending events like walk through neighborhoods and knock on doors. I know, a lot of new agents, they don't want to knock on doors, but that's part of real estate. And just a tip on walking through neighborhoods, people are much more likely to be friendly when they talk to you if you have a gift for them. It doesn't have to be much, just something to hand out. People love getting gifts. Some extras to throw into the farming process include circle prospecting. It means every time a home in your area comes on the market, you'll target all the homes just right around it. And this is another time you're knocking on the doors. Make up some flyers, just walk around each one of them, knock on the door and say, hey, my name is such and such with this real estate company. I'm sure you know that this home over here is for sale. Just wanted to give you some information about myself. If you know anybody that's interested, let me know. And hey, by the way, if you'd like to sell your home, I'd love to talk to you about it. You also want to obviously get into social media. So everything that you're going to do, you're going to target this one area. You're going to do mailers. You're going to do social media. There's a rule of 7 where people don't pay attention to you until after 7 times seeing you. And maybe you've been on social media and you've been scrolling through things and ads have come up and you may have scrolled through them multiple times and then boom, all of a sudden this ad that you have scrolled past so many times catches your eye. And that's the rule of 7, that people need to see something over and over and over. So you could even send the same postcard to the same houses over and over. You might want to send a letter and postcards, knock on the door, get in front of them as many times as you can. Go to the events. Hey, yard sales, man, that's a gold mine for leads. You'd be amazed how easily people talk and they want to, people, you go to yard sale, they may be getting ready to sell their home. So you want to talk to them about their home. If they're selling, do you have an agent? Other people around will start to kick in because people are just laid back and relaxed at yard sales. Another thing you could do on social media is create a community page. And it would just be something that would target that particular neighborhood. You would list events that are happening in and around it. You may not have a lot to list that's like right in the neighborhood. So in their county or in their area, when there are events, festivals, there's free clinics or, whatever might be going on, just stay abreast of it and post it to the page and just watch that page grow. Don't make it political. Don't make it about sales. Just make it about an informational, like a public service to that neighborhood. Now, this will take, it could take 3 to 6 months before you start to see anything. If you're doing it consistently and you're really targeting these folks with some good advertisement, you're doing your circle prospecting, everything you're supposed to do, 3 to 6 months, you're going to start to see the harvest. And as it comes in, it'll be sporadic. And what you don't want to do is get a listing and forget about your farm. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see new agents making, is that they get a listing and they hyper focus on it and they forget about everything else. You can't do that, because when you do that and you stop tending to your farm, it's going to take you another 3 to 6 months once you kick it back in. So you want to stay consistent. Don't neglect your farm. The key is consistency. You don't have to throw a whole lot of money at it. Just be consistent in what you're doing. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Market Talk Weekly. Hey, I've got more information on my website. If you haven't been there, it's markettalkweekly.com. I have a learning center there with some free prospecting classes. All you have to do is create a free account there to log in and get the information. I also have all the documents that I talk about in my podcast there, and they're free to download as well. Again, you just need to create an account, and then you'll log in at the learning center. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another episode of Market Talk Weekly.